My name is Ihsan Hekiboğlu. I'm a student at Penn State at Beaver Campus. This presentation is prepared for my international studies class. It is about inequalities around the world. Do you believe there are inequalities around the world? I do believe so, and I think it's inevitable, but nowadays almost everyone will probably acknowledge that growing inequalities has become a pressing issue. Even business leaders identify it as one of the biggest threats to the world economy. Now, discussions around the post-2015 global agenda include a specific focus on reducing inequalities at the global level. One important strategy for reducing inequality is to ensure universal access to good quality basic goods and services, food, housing, basic amenities like water and energy, health services, education, and social protection. Global inequality, in a broad sense, is the idea that people in different places or times are unequal in terms of their relation to one another. Global inequality has two dimensions: the inequalities which exist between countries and the inequalities within countries. Not everyone in the United States is rich, and not everyone in a poor country is poor, but measures must be taken together. Usually, people focus on economic equality, and in the world, different regions are differently developed and therefore have different levels of wealth between them and distribution of wealth in their population. Global economic inequality is defined as signaling the systematic inequalities that exist between countries, allowing for the simultaneous existence of inequalities within countries. The best estimates for wealth concentration at the Global Economic Summit comes from Forbes magazine. Forbes annually tallies the fortune of the world's billionaires. As of February 2014, Forbes reported last year the world hosted 1,645 billionaires, over the double the 793 billionaires. Forbes counted in 2009 at the depth of great recession. These 1,645 billionaires together held $6.4 trillion in wealth. The 3.3 billion adults in the world with less than 10,000 to their names credit, Susie noted in October 2014, together hold 7.6 trillion in net worth. Poverty is about the deprivation of needs, such as clean water, health care, etc. You can define a person or place. This means that it could equally be the land that is poor in poverty. Sorry, as it could be a person. This means that a person can be poor even if their community is not. Example, there are poor people in the United States of America. However, if an environment that is in the poverty and has no clean water, then it doesn't matter how much money a person has. The will still be living in poverty as they have been deprived of basic needs. As you can see on the chart, the minimum wage around the world has big inequalities. Surprisingly, the United States of America is not on the top of the list. There are countries such as Australia, France, New Zealand, Canada, and Japan. If you look at the bottom of the list, you will understand that what I mean by inequality is to compare 3 cents an hour versus $16.88 an hour. In this slide, I'd like to share with you how long you need to work in order to buy a Big Mac in different cities and countries. You can see from the slide in developed countries, cities like Chicago, Tokyo, Toronto, London, New York, Frankfurt, Sydney, and Paris. While you need to work less than 20 minutes in Mexico City, Jakarta, and Nairobi, you need to work more than 100 minutes. Wow, it's a big difference. According to Professor Angus Dayton, inequality is a naughty subject. There was a little agreement on what ought to be equal. Should be a measurable outcome such as income or wealth, a easier outcome such as power or freedom, or a vague aspiration such as equality of opportunity. It was often said that the world is becoming more unequal, but it is less than clear what is meant by that income inequality between countries has been growing over the past 3 centuries, but it may now be narrowing between the world's people as a whole. How do we measure inequalities? Gini, which is also known as Gini coefficient, is an index that statistically gives measures of the distribution within a country. It was developed by Italian statistician and sociologist Corrado Gini and published in 1912 paper Variability and Mutability. The index is a measure of how countries accomplish their goals by distribution of residents and is most commonly used measure of inequalities. I'd like to finish my presentation with a short video on inequalities between rich and poor countries.
Is the gap between rich and poor widening? The incomes of top earners have risen much faster than for everyone else. This trend has been particularly marked in Australia, Denmark, Finland, the UK, Mexico, and the United States. In a few countries, France, Portugal, and Spain, the gap between rich and poor has stayed the same. The richest people in OECD countries have an income about 9 times more than the poorest. This ratio is 6-to-1 in Norway and Denmark, 10-to-1 in Italy, Japan, Korea, and the UK, 14-to-1 in Turkey, Israel, and the US, and reaches 27 to 1 in Mexico and Chile. The most common way to measure inequality is via the Gini coefficient, where 0 means everyone has the same income and 1 means the richest person has all the income. Over the past 2 decades, it rose in 17 of the 22 countries for which there are data. It increased in the US, Finland, Germany and Sweden. It fell in Mexico and Turkey, but from very high levels. The 1990s and 2000s saw a surge in the share of people reporting extremely high incomes. This was particularly the case in the US, Canada, Ireland and Finland. Top income tax rates fell from around 60 to 70% 20 years ago to around 40% today. More people work part-time these days. Earnings inequality in Finland, the Netherlands and Germany is low among full-time workers, but jumps dramatically when you include part-time employees and the self-employed. In other countries like Israel, Canada and the US, the difference is less marked. On the other hand, the fact that more women are working has softened the rise in earnings inequality. The OECD says rising inequality is not inevitable. Governments can do something about it. Reforming tax and benefit policies would help. Getting more people into the labour force and making sure they stay in jobs which pay.
Thank you very much for watching this presentation. Please submit a comment if you like it.